Hey everybody, it's Brian from Wrazel. I'm here with Dino H Carter of D Branding. Dino, great to see you. How are you?
Great to see you, Brian.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about D Branding, if you don't mind.
So D Branding is a branding consultancy based in Los Angeles. We offer the regular branding services, but we mainly focus on actual consultancy. We diagnose the problem, what is holding your business from getting where you want to go, and mainly there's always some kind of a branding issue. Usually it's not the sales department, it's something that is not aligned between the brand and the customers. So we find that and we fix it.
Very good. I know that you work with a variety of industries. However, cannabis has its own kind of particular set of challenges, correct?
Yeah, a lot of challenges. But in a way, branding and marketing is just the same, regardless of the industry. And the pillars of building a brand is just the same, regardless if it's cannabis, consumer goods, alcohol, fashion, or whatever. The work in a way is pretty much the same, but cannabis is different. Because it's such a huge, really saturated industry, so you need to rise above the competition.
Sure.
Unlike older industries that are already established. So this is a huge thing, and this takes us to the most important thing about branding, which is differentiation. There's so many CBD products out there. There's so many hemp and THC and tinctures and farms and biomass and whatever. So the question is, why you?
Explain the pillars of building a brand.
So the first one is, who is the brand? Not what is the brand, who is the brand? Build a brand persona. Just think like a human, okay? And the second thing is, what am I selling? Because the products that you sell or the service is not what you really sell. Mm. And who do you sell to? You need to be very focused. Most people say, when I ask them, so who's your customer? And they say, everybody. Yeah, everybody can use that, but don't try to sell to everybody, because you will end up selling to no one. You need to really focus. And that brings us to the fourth pillar is, why should they buy? Always think, why should they buy? Who am I selling to, and why should they buy? And this is, a lot of people think that it's about the features of the product. We have the best CBD. We have the purest product. Nobody is doing it as good as we do. And that's in all industries. So it's not about that. It's about, how do you make this specific customer base feel and know, so they will want to buy your product and not the competition.
That makes sense. And I can see why that's challenging for businesses in the cannabis industry. Would you care to elaborate a little bit on how kind of the biggest challenges that they face with regards to that?
So, the biggest challenge is the differentiation, because it's so saturated and there is so much of the same, and it's really hard for someone in the business, and that's regardless of the industry, to really look at the business and find the brand and discover the brand. So you need to go outside, in a way, outside of the bottle, to see the label and how it looks from outside.
Right.
And then you can really discover your brand. And a great way to do that is looking at your customer base and see, how do they want to feel? What are their needs? What are their wants? Harley Davidson. No one buys a Harley Davidson because of the features of the engine.
Right.
They want to feel something. They want to feel a part of a tribe. They want to see, when people see them on their Harley Davidson, people will think XYZ about them. So you need to think, my clientele, how do they want to feel? And how I can help them feel this way.
Right.
And regulation is huge in the cannabis space. So it brings us, you can't advertise here, you can't advertise there.
Yep.
So you need to think, okay, if I can't advertise, how do I grow my followers in a cost-effective way? How do I use social media? Without social media, I don't think this industry would be so big.
Right.
So the best way is not just to get likes and followers,
Sure.
because the idea is to create out of this content revenues.
Yes.
The fact that you have 1,000 likes on a photo, but no one buys your product doesn't really help the bank account.
No.
So if you will think what they want to see, what will be relevant for them today, tomorrow, and a week from now, that's the content you need to bring them. When you send a newsletter, okay, you don't need to advertise for that. You just need to create the right newsletter. Don't try to promote yourself. Promote them.
Yeah.
Think about them and show them how, if they will use your service or buy your product, it will benefit them.
Where do you see the industry in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. I actually think that it will not be the cannabis space or the cannabis industry. I think that it will be such a regular, everyday part of our lives. It will be consumer goods and pharma,
Sure.
just like anything else.
That makes sense.
There is no aspirin industry.
Right.
It's just pharma.
That's
just
right.
medicine. And that's where it's going to go. I mean, it will just be just a regular part of our lives.
Speaking of that, is there any advice that you would want to give in a growing cannabis company?
Yeah. Well, that's the advice I give all my clients. Don't think about yourself. Think about your customer. Because it's not about you, it's about your customer.
Sure.
And if you look at history, all the biggest companies and the biggest brands that have been with us for so many years is not because they thought about themselves. They wanted to cater. They thought about how can I make my customers' life better. So just don't think about yourself. Think about your customers, what they want, what they need, and how you can help them. Don't spend money.
Sure.
Don't just go and spend money. If your customers is not there, you don't need to be there.
Yep.
So focus on a specific customer base, that's the right customer base for you. And if they're not there, don't go and try meet them there. Go and try meet them only where they are.
And I love that advice because that doesn't matter what your current budget for such things is, right? So any other tips you want to give, a growing company that's maybe a little bootstrapped in terms of budget?
Budget is huge. It's a huge problem. But the best thing that we live today in the content era and the internet and mobile era, you can do so much with no budget. A lot of my clients started with no money, so we just built the right content strategy and post on social media the right way. Used video, use YouTube. 73% of people who go on YouTube go to ask a question. How, what, who? And if you will answer those questions, if you will find a way to answer questions regardless of your product that is aligned with your brand personality and aligned with your customer's personality, the traction that you're gonna get is huge. And you'll see that numbers are just going up, 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 and up. And then start sending them personalized newsletters. That doesn't cost anything. Create the right social media. That doesn't cost anything.
Nope.
YouTube doesn't cost anything. Help your community. Find the community and see how you can help the community.
There you go.
And all of those things doesn't cost a dime, but you will get so much more out of that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we leave, let's make sure that everybody knows where to find you and D-Branding.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. And you can find me on dbranding.la. That's my website. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Dino H Carter. Just search Dino H Carter on LinkedIn and you'll find me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Till next time.